Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners Pregame podcast. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune and the voice of the fans, Travis Davidson, also known as Grill Boy. And if you haven't been paying attention, you should go to OU Insider YouTube. And if you have any itch to learn new tailgating recipes and how to cook said recipes, he has it for you. He's got Tulane's up right now. I watched it last night. It looks like a good dish. I don't want to ruin it.
It's fantastic. I've had it the last 2 nights for dinner. It's delicious.
Kidney beans, though, that threw me off there a little bit. But hey, it is what it is. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it.
So good.
All right, it looked good. It looked really good when you got done with it. Anyways, yes, obviously Oklahoma plays Tulane this week after starting out 2-0 and beating Houston 16-12 in what felt like Oklahoma really is 1-1 at this point in the season. But we're going to get into all of that. Before we do that, though, Parker, we got to pay some bills.
I suppose we do. Yes, this episode of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast, folks, is brought to you by the good friends at HelloFresh. Now, listen, as Travis Davidson can attest, fresh food is always better. That's why we love HelloFresh during football season to cut down on meal prep time during the week when we're going all over the place. The stadium for Brent Venables' press conferences, the DFW area, which I am headed to this evening for recruiting coverage, wherever we may be on the road to, or whatever may be crowding our schedules. Meal prep time needs to be kept to a minimum for us during the fall, and HelloFresh is a very easy way to make that happen for us. Plans change, life gets busy. That's why HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week. You can tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery date or skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. You get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable this football season. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. There's always new flavors to explore with an ever-changing menu of 50 recipes to choose from every week. Just pick your meals and your delivery date. It's that simple. For free breakfast for life, go to HelloFresh.com/free OU Insider. One free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/free OU Insider. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Also want to remind you folks, go download the Autograph app, link.ag.fan/boomer, and use code BOOMER to get signed up today and join the Oklahoma community over on the Autograph app. It's completely free. Tom Brady and his team are giving you free rewards, free swag, tickets, all that good stuff, just for being a fan, just for interacting with content pertinent to your favorite team. Again, link.ag.fan/boomer and use promo code BOOMER to get started today. With that, do we launch into Tulane? We have any housekeeping items to tend to first?
I mean, I'm interested to hear Travis's take on everything just because I haven't totally got to hear it yet. I mean, I'm sure you've said it elsewhere. I just haven't heard it.
Yeah,
being honest.
I'm usually talking somewhere. So, Houston, obviously, I think maybe some players, maybe some coaches, but definitely some fans got caught scoreboard watching in week 1 as it pertained to Houston, right? We looked at Houston and said, they got blown out by UNLV. UNLV, Odom's got those boys tuned up. They just put up 72 last week. Like UNLV is a good football team. Odom brothers out there, Brad's over there with the chief of staff. So anyways, you get caught scoreboard watching a little bit. Everybody assumes, hey, this team's supposed to be really bad. They lost to a team that's not supposed to be very good. They must be bad. I don't think that's the case. I think Willie Fritz is going to get it figured out a little bit. I do think OU should have won by more. I'm not trying to excuse their play by any stretch of the imagination. I just think I think even us, on pregame thought, man, if UNLV is able to do that, we should beat them by at least that much. But
Yeah.
Donovan played better, didn't have the as costly of turnovers as he did against UNLV, obviously, through 2 picks, one being a pick six.
Yep. To Rashawn. Yeah.
And the offense for Oklahoma, it can be, 4 different ways right now, right? Like there are 4 general things that are contributing to the lack of offensive output, right? Or at least the 4 things that are being blamed right now, right? Number one, maybe taking the most arrows is Jackson Arnold. Number two, maybe taking the second most arrows, Seth Luttrell, and then wide receiver health and offensive line health. I think all of those things are contributing to what the offense is doing right now, right? I think that getting Nick Anderson back, if that happens this week, I think will be a massive benefit for the wide receiver room and Jackson's confidence and his pass catchers in general. The guy should, I mean, he's got 6 touchdowns through 2 games, nothing too bad to sneeze at. Obviously, not great competition. The one interception, Deion Burks even admitted, "Hey, that was my bad. That was my bad. That was my fault. That was
Flatten
not."
his route out. And yeah, exactly what I
So,
said. Yeah. Yeah.
so I mean, Jackson, I think, has been playing fine. When you have one offensive lineman starting in his actual position, who is Fabechi Wiwu is the only one because Sexton's supposed to play left tackle, he's playing left guard, and then obviously you got Howland and Tarquin, and now Taylor's out, or at least came out in the second quarter of the game. You've got Bates, who's fourth string, right behind Hickman and Troy Everett and Garen Hatchett at center. Like you're just not like somebody told me yesterday, they said, "Man, the offensive line stinks, and I don't want to hear about the injuries." And that's so silly to me. That's me walking outside, seeing my car is wet and saying, "Why is my car wet? I don't want to hear about the rain." Like it's a reasonable thing to say when you're missing a lot of your players, especially in something that relies on so much continuity. It's going to matter. So I think if you get a guy like Hickman back or a Troy Everett back, I think it gives you more experience at that center position. And much like we saw with Caden Green last year, they don't mind putting in a freshman if he's surrounded by experience. They're not going to put experience in next to Josh Bates, who's also inexperienced. So when you look at who they might put in left guard, talk about maybe an EPL or Heath Ozida, something like that, they aren't going to do it unless they've got Sexton on one side and either Everett or Hickman on the other, in my opinion. So, anyways, I think those things get healthy. I think wide receiver and offensive line get healthy. Then magically, the offense will run a bit better, and Jackson will start piling up some of the stats that we thought we were going to see this early in the season.
Yeah. Been a long week. I'm interested to see how all this injury stuff plays out this week because obviously, um, you mentioned Jackson Arnold, then you mentioned Luttrell as like the first 2 culprits in a lot of people's eyes as far as issues on the offense. But have you been watching snaps with Aaron Murray? Has anybody watched that yet? The breakdown of
Yeah,
like the 25 plays?
that was it felt like it was a bit of medicine for the OU fan base that came out.
Parker, did you happen to see that?
I have not gotten a chance to watch it. No.
Well, you should, and I recommend all of you fans should do so because it really broke down. He broke it down to its absolute, to the core of everything. And at the end of it, he was like, you know what? Jackson didn't exactly play that bad at the end of the day. Like he didn't play great, didn't play good. He played average, but he said there was so much potential in that he's going to be a good quarterback. He just talked about the youth at the wide receiver position. He talked about just some of he said the play calls. He talked about the play calls, right, Travis? Like he talked about some of the issues. There was a lot of times, and we joked about it with Caleb Williams, where they were dropping 8 and just there was nowhere for Jackson to go with the ball. Like nowhere. And so he's having to force it into double coverage. And he's not seeing the zones quick enough right now, which happens when you're a freshman. And I think fans need to understand that there is going to be bumps in the road here. This dude, it's a third start. He's got 3 starts in his whole career. He's not everybody is Sam Bradford, and everybody tends to forget Sam Bradford started out 4-0. What happened after that? He goes up to Colorado and lays a big old pile of crap on the 50-yard line in Boulder, and they lose, right? So it happens to freshmen essentially, or redshirt freshmen or sophomores that are in their third start. So no excuse, just making a general statement that one of the smartest quarterbacks made himself after breaking the film down. I just thought it was interesting. What is everybody looking forward to this week as far as like what are what is one thing you think Oklahoma has to do if they're going to get by Tulane? Because this is not going to be easy at all for Oklahoma.
Well,
At all.
the first thing that jumps out to me, Brandon, is Tulane's secondary is not great. You'll be able to beat Tulane down the field. The secondary is certainly the weakness of that Tulane defense. And so this has the potential. This very much has the potential to be a get right game for Jackson Arnold.
Yeah.
You want to silence the critics. You want to quell the doubt. The easiest way to do that is going to be to take advantage of a weak Tulane secondary with chunk gains downfield, accurately placed passes in the intermediate and deep game. And if Oklahoma can do that, if Jackson Arnold can do that, this Oklahoma offense should be able to get rolling against this Tulane defense. Now, if Jackson Arnold can't do that, that's where things start to get very, very unpleasant, because if you let Tulane muck this game up like Houston did last week, then you're going to have to hold on for dear life for 60 minutes, just like you did a week ago, because this is a resilient team. They went to the wire with Kansas State last weekend in Yulman Stadium. They have talent. Their freshman quarterback, Darian Mensah, has played pretty well so far. I was frankly surprised he beat out Ty Thompson for the starting spot, and the fact that he did so speaks to the reality that he is no scrub.
Yeah.
And so I I think it has to start with Jackson Arnold on Saturday. I think Jackson Arnold is going to have to seize the bull by the horns, walk in there with some confidence and say, we can beat this secondary. We can take advantage of their vulnerabilities, and we're going to.
Yeah, well said. I'm gonna stick to the defensive side since Parker kind of took the offensive side. I think that so far through 2 games, Oklahoma is not allowing over 2 yards a carry. Right, against Temple, they allowed 1.9 yards per carry. Against Houston, they averaged 1.7 yards per carry. So you've got to stop the run against Tulane. They averaged, I think they're averaging 5.1 yards per carry for the season, which as a team is fantastic. Obviously, they juiced their stats a little bit in week 1, as everybody tends to, as Oklahoma did with the 1.9 number. But with Mensah, he is really good with his legs. He can extend the plays. He gets outside the pocket. Where you can win against Mensah, though, is he's extremely loose with the ball. He carries the football way outside. What happened in that Kansas State game was he spun back like 6 yards backwards, almost like a Caleb Williams bailout where they go backwards. He did that and knocked the ball loose. Kansas State returns it for a 50-yard touchdown, right? Completely changed, the look of the game, right? And then he got outside, had an intentional grounding, right? He threw a pick to end the game, got hurried up with a rush. Like, I think Oklahoma's pass rush has to, create pressure, but contain. Like, cannot let him get outside because he will hurt you with his legs. He can hurt you with his legs. But Oklahoma caused 8 turnovers so far. He can get got. Like, there's going to be opportunity. Darian Mensah is going to put the ball in harm's way. You have to take advantage of that, just like Kansas State did on their way to a win. So for defense, for me, it is threefold. It is stop the run like you have been, contain Darian Mensah, which will force some turnovers, and then lastly, Mario Williams, man, he's been great. 10 catches for 252 yards. For those of you, quick math, that's 25.2 yards per reception. Oddly enough, hasn't gotten in the end zone with any of those big catches. But the dude, he's a small
He's
little
good.
bird. He's been good for them, and he's really largely their entire passing offense. When you look at the wide receiving numbers for Tulane, he has over double the receptions of the next guy and over two and a half times the yards of the next guy. So if you're able to basically, get some safety help over the top because he's got some speed, or just put a corner and say, hey, like, you're following him everywhere, just make sure he doesn't kill us. Like, if you shut down, if you do those three things, OU's walking out of here with a win and probably a cover.
Yeah, Mario Williams. It'd be nice to have him on Oklahoma's roster right now, huh?
No, we have a lot of small, fast guys.
Hey, it don't matter. They ain't producing like that.
We have a lot of small, fast guys. Like that.
I don't
That's the
care.
thing about our wide receivers. It's like I want Nick Anderson back because
I get that, but that
Headaway,
dude is
Thompson,
producing.
Burks. We look like the lollipop guild out there.
Well, outside of Burks, nobody else is really producing. That's pretty funny, actually. What? Don't be hating on Oompa Loompas, bro. Don't be hating on them. So I'm with you. But like Parker, I'm gonna go offense. I think you have to get the run game going. Like it has to get going. Like if you want Jackson Arnold to be successful, the run game has to get going. And what I mean by the run game, I don't mean give them a carry on an inside zone and then call it good and back to the RPO. I'm talking about use the GT counter. How often have we seen the GT counter this year? You've seen it faked on a jet sweep to open the game.
Right. Only when we're faking it.
Awful, awful scheme, by the way. Like I've watched that play 1,000 times. I'm just like, how is that? And I get it. I get it. Like that defensive lineman, obviously, probably has never shot up the field that fast ever on film. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I haven't watched film. Just guessing. But he did. Because normally whenever everybody cracks down, you're taught to lean in and keep your shoulders parallel, but he didn't do that. He just went straight up the field and said hello to Deion Burks.
With that play in particular, I get it. He shot up field. Like if you're circling, if you're
well, I think they ran the jet sweep successful later on. Didn't Deion oh my gosh, didn't Barnes like block him later on and like just kill him?
Pull him up. But here's the thing. If you're a defensive coordinator and you're scouting against Oklahoma, who are you circling in skill players? You're circling Deion Burks. So we can say, oh, hey.
Probably shouldn't use him the first play of the game.
He never shoots upfield. Well, you put him motioning back to the ball, and it's the only guy well, not the only guy, but the main guy they've been focusing on. Don't let that guy beat us. He had 3 touchdowns in the first week. Like, yeah, they're going to be keen on that guy. So, like, the idea that, oh, well, he at film, he always went the other way. Well, when you put your main star on offense running back towards the ball, somebody's probably like, well, that's weird. Maybe we should pay attention to that guy. So regardless, I'm a big guy of like, actually run the play before you fake the play. It just seems weird to not set up the fake, getting them to bite on the read. But hey.
Yeah, no doubt. Anyways, I think you've got to look, and I know everybody's been hating on Gavin Sawchuk. I know it. I see it. People in the comments when I said something have hated on him, but then you've got some people that are realistic about it, and they're like, he is a running back that has to get in a rhythm. Like, that's just who he is. And when he does get in a rhythm, he's freaking phenomenal. We saw it last year, right? Healthy Gavin Sawchuk, when he gets in a rhythm, is really freaking good. Now, does that have a lot to do with the offensive line helping him out? Probably. But he's only gotten inside zone carries all season, and it's 8 of them. We haven't seen him run a stretch play. We haven't seen him run a GT counter, maybe but once. And I just think you've got to let him go and let him cook a little and see what happens. If he doesn't get going, okay, I'm going to join the club of, okay, maybe you should do something else. I don't know. I don't know. But I trust him as a player. He is a good player. We have seen it. Let's give him more than 8 carries in 2 games. Give him 15 carries, 20 carries like you did last year. Let him get going. What he averaged like 140 yards a game or something like that the last 6 games, something stupid last year. And that's because he got going, right? He was able to start the game off, maybe getting you 2, 3, 4 yards, 5 yards every carry. And then bam, he broke it and he started getting in that rhythm and getting chunk plays after that. And that's what you want out of the run game. That's what's going to make it open up for Jackson Arnold in the pass game. But they've completely got away from the run game. Period. I don't care if it's Gavin Sawchuk. I don't care if it's Javonte Barnes. I don't care if it's Taylor Tatum. Run the damn ball and help him get more comfortable back there and at least make the defense have to a test for the run, right? Like, I feel like we're watching a one-dimensional offense because that's exactly what it's been, is one-dimensional. And you can't win, particularly in the SEC, one-dimensional. And you're not beating Tulane with the one-dimensional offense.
It was 0-dimensional last week.
No doubt. But it was 0-dimensional because they couldn't run the ball. Like, they're just going, we're going to drop 8 because you guys suck at running. You're not even going to attempt to run. Actually, they didn't even attempt it half the time. It was crazy. How many how many times did they run the ball? Not you take the quarterback run game out of it. How many times?
I mean, I can get the numbers in front of me.
It wasn't that many.
Actually.
It was, I think, 1 carry for Tatum, 4 carries for Barnes, and then like 12 carries for, or 4 carries for Sawchuk, and then like 12 carries for Barnes, I think. So less than 20, I think, is what the end of number is, because I think Jackson ran the ball 11 times, if I'm remembering correctly.
That ain't gonna do it, brother. That's not gonna do it. And I know the time of possession was skewed because Houston held the ball to like the last 3 or 4 seconds of every play clock and literally ran the ball, literally ran the clock down. I get it. But they were able to do that because you were 3 and out because you passed the ball and only knocked off like 30 seconds. Incomplete pass, incomplete pass, incomplete pass, punt. That's not going to do it, guys. Like, you're going to get beat by Tulane doing that. They're too good. They almost beat Kansas State. And do I think Oklahoma's better than Kansas State? Yes. Particularly at home. OU's defense is far better than Kansas State. And that's the other thing, Travis, you touched on, which I thought was just a really good point. I'm interested to see how Mensa does when BV and Zach Alley really dial this thing up, because I think they're going to this weekend. I think this whole being base thing, I don't think you're going to see any 3-man front. And if you do, you're only going to see a few of it. And it's just to make Tennessee have to prep for it. And that's it. You're not going to really see the true 3-3-6 that they're going to probably 3-3-5, excuse me, that they're probably going to throw out there, or 3-2-6, whatever they throw out there. You're probably not going to see the true version of that until Tennessee, but I'm interested to see how they try to make Mensa's life miserable this week. Very interested.
That because you have to. Watching it back, that 3-man front had some success last week. And
yeah, but it wasn't a true 3-man, right? Like, they had, usually Dolby came up and stood like as a hybrid, or you know what I mean? Like,
I like that 3-man front when it's Downs and Halton as the defensive ends and Dominic Williams over the center.
Yeah.
I like that lineup a lot. Now, obviously, I don't know that you necessarily want to be relying on the 3-man front every single snap, but situationally, it's fun to be able to use either a 3-man or a 4-man front, like give those different looks and still be able to have success defending the run and getting after the quarterback. And small sample size, granted, let's see him do it against SEC offensive lines, but
Right.
definitely been encouraged by the push and the pressure that they've been able to generate up front with both 3 and 4-man looks up front these first couple weeks.
They've been very multiple for sure. I like that. That's what I like about Venable's defense, and he is the true testament of a multiple defense, and really puts deep offenses on their heels because of it. I know that he likes the 3-man front because it allows them to be very exotic in everything that they do. Um, and I've been told that multiple times by multiple people. What if if you had to guess, how do you think this offensive line lineup's going to look this Saturday?
I think it's going to be Howland starting at left tackle, Sexton starting at left guard, Bates starting at center, Bechiwiwu starting at right guard, and then right tackles.
Tarquin.
Yeah, and I think Howard actually played decently well.
Nobody thinks Hickman plays?
I mean, like if he walks out there, it won't shock me. But I think the safe money for me is on Bates.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Hickman plays. I will go out on a limb. I will say he comes back because, I mean, he suited up last week, right? He looked like he could have gone last week, and they decided to hold him out. So I'll say they re-implement Branson Hickman. Now, does he play the whole game? Not necessarily. I mean, that next week is far more important than this week. And yes, you would like to beat Tulane. I'm not saying you look past them, but having a healthy Branson Hickman for Tennessee is far more important than having a healthy Branson Hickman for Tulane. So, I think you see Branson Hickman again in some capacity, but I agree with Travis, and the word has been that they're prepping Logan Howland to get ready to make his first career start at left tackle. So if that's the case, man, that's a big prove it opportunity for a kid that up until last week had only had 2 very brief garbage time appearances in his entire collegiate career, and then got thrown into the fire in a 1-score football game that went down to the wire. And he did perform pretty well. He wasn't Orlando Pace, but he was solid, and he provided stability on that side of the line. So if Logan Howland's emergence continues, then maybe it becomes less of a necessity for you to find a way to shift Jake Sexton back out to left tackle. I still think he's your best left tackle. I still think that's where he should be playing. But if Howland can hold down the fort at minimum, and that enables you to be a little bit more gradual and a little bit more calculated in how you ease a guy like Troy Everett back into the mix, then you're going to be better off in that case.
So, and I agree with that. But I also would find it quite interesting. And I know that Tarquin's probably played. I think he and Sexton have played the best of the offensive linemen so far this year. And I think that's hilarious because everybody was hating on Tarquin to start, like, oh, he's horrible. Why would you do this? No, man, he's actually been pretty good. Like, he and Sexton have done their job. They have done their jobs. The other players have been up and down. Weiwu, for as consistent as he was said to have been in fall camp, has not been consistent during the first 2 games, unfortunately. No, maybe it. I think he will. He's very talented, very raw. Like he's not a complete version of what he will be, and I think that's very encouraging for OU, for Bill Bedenbaugh, for everybody, right? Like he's just not. I want to see Eddie Pierre-Louis. I want to see it. I want to see him come in, and I know I want Howland to start. I do. What you all said as the starting lineup. Yes, that's probably how I would envision it myself. Whether it's Bates or Hickman at center, whatever at this point. I mean, obviously Hickman's better, but I want to see EPL and I want to see Sexton back at left tackle at some point during the game and see what that lineup looks like and see if they can get anything going. Because if they can, you've really, really made it easier on Beat and Bow, and maybe will allow Weewoo to not have to be the starting right guard, and you slide Everett in there, right? And now you've got Hickman, Everett, EPL, Sexton, Tarquin. That's a good lineup. That's a super athletic lineup on top of it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm
Probably.
crazy in wanting that. Yeah, probably. But I want to see it. We've heard nothing but phenomenal things about Pierre Louis. Now I want to see it. I want to see it in an extended version of the game and not just in mop up duty.
Yeah, it's just tough because he's not like again, Beatonbow has no problem paying an experience. He's just it'll be a cold day in hell before you see like Howland, EPL, and Bates or something
Yeah,
like
that's never gonna. No, that's never gonna
that.
happen.
So
No.
that's why when Parker
That's why
brought
I said if Hickman's out there. That's
right,
why.
and if like with Parker bringing up Hickman, that's what I was going to ask. Like, if Hickman's out there, does that automatic like in my mind that would automatically kick Sexton out to left tackle and then throw in like an EPL or an Ozida or
Exactly.
whatever, but like immediately do it because I think later in the game, if Hickman comes out, then you don't allow yourself the opportunity to play EPL because Bates will be in there. So
Yep.
so it's almost like a hey, what do you take EPL and put him at left guard, put out Saxon left tackle, and then start with Hickman there and then make the move? Because if you wait, I'm not sure it's possible. Now, the one thing I'll bring up about Fabechi Wiwu is he's not been that consistent, but he's also got like 30 or 40 pounds on Troy Everett. So Troy
Yeah.
Everett, yes, like I'm a big Troy Everett guy. I've
Troy
always
Everett's put on a lot of weight though, hasn't
He
he?
has put on a lot of weight. Troy Everett is not 285 anymore.
no, he's like 309, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, Fabechi's like 335, 340. So, like, he's still giving up a lot of weight to Fabechi. So, if there's a issue with moving bodies, I mean, that's what happened with Troy Everett against Texas, right? That's how Caden Green got in the game, if I remember correctly.
Yes, the
Caden
285
Green was
version.
the
Yes.
bigger body because
Yeah.
we needed the bigger body to go push people around. So, like, I think Troy Everett. I mean, he was a freshman All-American center. We brought him in, and he was so good on the interior offensive line that we're like, we'll put him at guard because he's good. He's just
Mhm.
he was playing a little out of position. So, like with the Everett
Well,
thing,
if Hickman's not healthy, you play him there, right?
right. And I think honestly, like I think Troy Everett. I think Troy
He's a
Everett gets
good center. Yes, very good
he
center,
gets
actually.
dogged on a lot
Yeah.
because everybody's like, I had to pull him against Texas because he was too small. Right? I'm like, because he's a center. Like they're not the same size as guards traditionally. So, anyways, I do think that if you want to get athletic, start moving those guys around a little bit. Sure, Troy can do that, and he's a guy that Bill trusts. Right? He's not going to
Mhm.
get in there and screw up. Like with Fabechi, he's just a big body. Like if you have EPL and Fabechi as your two guards, like that's a big guard duo. Like heavy.
Run the ball behind them.
Right. Right.
All right. Wide receivers, Nick Anderson. See or don't see?
I don't think we see him.
And he is just getting worked over by people, by the way. They feel like he is like
Feel like he's
they feel
what?
like because they feel like he's ready. Like there's a lot of people that feel like he's ready. Not like people exclusively in the program. I'm talking like fans. Like they're just getting frustrated that he has missed so much. And they feel like it's killing him. Now, I get it. You want him ready for Tennessee. I think that's something fans need to look at. Like at the end of the day, if you feel like you can beat Tulane, you're not going to risk him. Right?
Yeah.
He's
I mean, I'm putting him out there regardless because we can talk about how it's Jackson's third start, and we can make excuses for lack of chemistry, like this. And then we want to throw Nick Anderson, who has not thrown a ball to in the entire regular season.
Oh,
And
I
now
agree with that
go
too.
out there and
There's
cook
sides to it.
Tennessee.
Yep.
Like and honestly, how much better is Nick Anderson going to get health wise between now and Tennessee? He's going to practice. He's practicing. Like it's put him out there, see how it goes. If he looks at you and says, "Hey, I'm a little sore or whatever," then take him out. But it's I think part of the reason people are frustrated by it is because it's unfair to him, but they know who his brother is, and they know that
He was injured all the time.
about the Andersons are always injured. So it's almost like they don't want their hearts broken, and they're like they're setting themselves up with some defensive pessimism here. But I would play him, man. Like it's I don't know how much more we're gonna throw at Jackson and be like, oh, sorry, can't have your best receiver now. Deion Burks, obviously, maybe 1A, 1B, right? But Nick Anderson broke the freshman touchdown record without even playing all that much, not even playing a full load. He had the most touchdowns, tied for the most touchdowns with Drake Stoops since 2019 CeeDee Lamb. Like put him out there and don't play around with this. I don't know if we think we can beat Tulane by 1, let's save him just to be 5% healthier. Like, no, that's how you lose. Yeah. Like your players out there. And I don't know if the coaching staff is just thinking, man, we're going to drop this, this nuke on Tennessee and just roll out all healthy. And Andrel and Nick and Branson and Jake Taylor, all these guys are going to be just ready to go and they're going to be competing at the highest level. Nebraska's like, oh, well, we've spent the last 3 weeks competing with our starters and blowing people out of the building, and we feel really good about our offense. Let's see whose strategy works better. Guys, from this view, Tennessee's strategy looks pretty good.
Yeah. What Andrew Anthony, and look, I'm with you. I think you got to play Anderson. I think is that, I don't want to say what it is, to be honest, so I'll just leave it alone. But that injury, is it going to get better? Like, it's been nagging this long. Like, at what point do you just go, it is what it is? And it's gonna nag you probably the whole year at this point, like, or potentially the whole year, most of the year, right? Like,
are you talking about Anderson or Anthony here?
Anderson.
Okay.
Right?
What exactly are you asking?
How much? What Travis asked? Like, how much
better is it going to get between now and Tennessee?
Yeah,
and I think the general question about health is an interesting one because Parker, you brought up, would you rather have a healthy Hickman against Tennessee? Health, it's relative, right? Is a healthy Hickman 90?
Can you go?
But is a healthy Hickman, quote unquote, he's not 100%. He's not going to be 80% now and 100% in a week. Like that's not how it goes, right? So would you rather have what, a 90% Hickman versus an 80% Hickman? Would you rather have 75% against Tulane and maybe go 85%? Like, it's all relative. Nobody's just with 100% health right now. To your point, nagging injury with Anderson, if we're going to wait until he's fully healthy, then go ahead and send him down to Baton Rouge and tell him to get ready for LSU. It's a situation where you're going to be playing somebody that is not at 100%. So if you just want to wait until everybody's 100% on your football team, then we will win 3 games a year for the next decade.
Yeah. So that brings us to Andrew Anthony. Go or not go?
We saw him in week 1. He's healthy enough to go.
Yeah, I think he had swelling, man, on his knee. Would be my bet. I don't know, but that tends to happen right after you come back and you start to play, and because he was wearing a brace all fall camp. And I know I can't remember. Did he wear it in game 1, like the big brace, or not? Do we know?
I don't remember if he did.
I don't remember seeing it. That's why I'm asking. And so I could see where that, that changes some things up with just maybe the swelling. Maybe there was movement in the knee that it wasn't quite used to at that point because it had the brace and the stability for so long. And then maybe it just nagged at him to the point where he was too sore to go. I don't know. But you would like to have him out there at least as a crutch for
Well,
Jackson,
here's the
right?
deal. There's going to have to be a decision made at some point if Anthony is, I mean, what do you think he is right now? 70, 75 like if that's where he's at for the
If
next
that's where
few
he's
weeks,
at, yeah,
there's
that
going to
he
have to
needs
be a
to.
decision made because he's on his last year of eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
So wants to have another season. If he wants to run it back one more time at Oklahoma, you got to play 4 games and slap the red shirt on him. But if he's healthy enough to make a difference, make an impact, make his presence felt for this offense in 2024, then again, like sometime soon, we got to start seeing his workload ramp up. We got to start seeing them ease him into that.
And I know he had we reported the setbacks. Like we were the ones, I think we were the ones that broke the news that like he had a setback within his comeback, and
Yeah.
that was the issue. And I understand that. I understand he had to go back in and clean some things out in the spring. But that's normal within ACL stuff though, to have that cleanup afterwards because of the swelling, the atrophy and everything that goes on within that, the wear and tear when you're trying to come back and rehab that ACL. I mean, Andy Bass had similar issues and why he hasn't come back fully. But I just you're coming up on that year mark, Parker. Like you're like weeks away from that year mark. Notoriously, it's 9 months. And if this is where he's at after 11 and a half months, like we said with Hickman and Anderson, how much better is this going to get within the span of the football season? And you're actually getting the wear and tear on it during practice. Like it's not going to get that much better. So it's either he can go or he can't go. And I know they do treatment and all that stuff. That I get it. But like you said, you're running out of time, man. His clock is ticking. He was an NFL draft wide receiver last year before he was injured. If he wants to get back to that, does he need to just go ahead and wave the white flag and go medical hardship? Like, is that what we need to see done?
Well, and to your guys' point, like on the timing thing, like what this schedule affords you. I know everybody, oh, the schedule, it's death, whatever, murderers row, this, that, the other. What the schedule affords you is if Andrew Anthony still wants to go to the NFL next year, he's going to have his opportunities to put stuff on tape against SEC teams. Like,
Yeah.
so, like the hey, are you going to be ready for SEC play because your hopes and dreams in the NFL are still right in front of you, right? I mean, he put enough good tape out there last year. People just trust that he can be healthy. That scouts will like that. But if he can go in and have good games against Tennessee and Alabama and these type of schools, like yeah, that's plenty of good tape as long as they think you're healthy. But I just again, yeah, if you're good to go, you're good to go. And to Brandon's point, it's like he played those 8 snaps in the opener. And then let's just hypothetically say that he had swelling. Okay, cool. So shut him down a little bit. Well, he's been practicing now. So is there swelling or is there not? Because if there's swelling after he's going through practice in full capacity, then he's not ready. If there's not swelling, then it stands to reason that if he's going through full practices without having any setbacks and swelling and whatnot, then put him in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Yeah.
Am I off on my just logic there?
No, you're not off.
It and like you, I was being very hypothetical with the because that's the only thing we could figure out, like why you wouldn't throw him out there to try and help Jackson because he has so much experience. Other than they feel like those guys are better, which I just can't imagine. What we saw last Saturday was better than Andrew Anthony. I remember Andrew Anthony being freaking good. Like I don't understand that at all. So I feel bad for Emmett Jones. I'm going to say it. I feel awful for him because he went from having built an immaculate wide receiver room to within a matter of weeks, it just crumbling down on him just like that. And I talked to Booby Feaster 2027 wide receiver, and he was a visitor, and he was like, well, the atmosphere was awesome, but I need to see them throw the ball. I don't know if I'm going to come back up for another game this year, which I think he will. He's been so close with Emmett Jones for so long. I think there's ground to make up now because the offense looks so pedestrian with him there watching, and there just wasn't a lot for a wide receiver recruit to look at and go, oh, well, that's what offense I want to play in right now,
Yeah.
right? Like it wasn't easy on his eyes. Anyways, I digress.
Would Booby Feaster see the field in a meaningful capacity for Oklahoma this
100% right now. 100%. Which is crazy. Okay, which brings me to my next question.
No, here we go.
Where the hell is Carry On and Kearney? You want size.
Yeah.
Last I checked, those guys were not only rivals 250 recruits at wide receiver, but they're big as hell.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, and I mentioned Carion earlier in the week as a guy that they ought to at least like you don't have to go full throttle, give him 40 snaps like you did to Zion Reagan's last week, but put somebody in there that's got a big, wide catch radius that Jackson Arnold can trust to go make a contested catch. That's an important thing for a young quarterback to have, confidence-wise. You need to move the chains on third down. Look for the 6'6" cat. All right, that's the first thing you're going to do if you're a quarterback.
Like,
I will say that part of the struggles of the offense that I've noticed is the young pups, as you guys say, they need to improve their blocking pretty dramatically. Whether that's
Sharp too, it was awful watching him.
Whether that's Tatum, whether that's the wide receivers, anything like that, like you've got to block. Like the change from high school to college when it comes to just blocking for wide receivers and pass pro and everything like that is so dramatic. So they've got to be better with that, specifically blocking. So I would love Ivan and Zion to get out there. I just need to go back and look, what did they do wrong to not get back out there? You know what I mean? Because it doesn't make sense that Reagan's would get, again, 40 snaps, but those guys not ready yet. Like what's not there yet? Why do you want to put 4 slot guys out there at the same time when you've got those guys out there? What are they not doing? You know what I mean?
I cannot imagine Zion Reagan's is blocking better than that 145. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I think his speed is kind of the trump card for everything. And I think the thought was is that he was going to, burn him deep and, stretch the defense. And that wasn't able to happen. And so the other issue you're running into is it's not all on Jackson. Like, how many times did he hit the wide receivers right in the hands over the last 2 games and they just flat dropped it? Drops have been a major
I think
issue.
it's been like 5 times on third down. He's hit somebody in the helmet, face mask, shoulder pads, whatever. Like
I want to say it's 12 total drops in 2 games. That's unacceptable.
It's a lot of drops. That's a lot of drops.
It's unacceptable. And that makes your quarterback look worse than he probably really was, to be honest. Like it all goes hand in hand. And who's going to get the blame? The quarterback. Because when they look at the stats, they're going to go, wow, he was awful. Well, you put those drops as catches and the yards go way up and the first downs go way up. And who the hell knows what happens after that? Because you probably got a first down on a big third down and all that. I mean, it changes everything. Like those type of mistakes they're drive killers. And we've seen it over and over and over the last 2 weeks, and it's unacceptable. Defensively, and Parker, I'm asking you this because we've been in a group text.
Okay.
Do we see Boganowski a lot this week if Peyton Bowen's too dinged up to go.
I listen. I think you're going to start seeing more and more of Michael Boganowski regardless.
I agree.
I do also think, and I might have mentioned this last week, I think having Boganowski in that room has been so good for Robert Spears Jennings. I mean, you have seen a different Robert Spears Jennings through the first 2 weeks of the
Yeah.
season.
PFF
I,
has him as the highest rated safety in the country this year.
highest graded defender in the country with more than 40 snaps to his credit. So he has been phenomenal. And I think that is because, in no small part, it is in no small part due to the reality that Boganowski got in there and he put some heat on Spears Jennings in fall camp. That was a real thing. And to RJ's credit, man, he stepped up and he has delivered these first 2 weeks. He has been phenomenal. And so if Peyton Bowen's dinged up and limited or even unavailable, then I think there's going to be a ton of faith in Billy Bowman and Robert Spears Jennings to be able to anchor the back end of that secondary. But you're not going to be able to play those two guys every single snap. And the third safety that would undoubtedly get rotated in would be Boganowski.
I agree. Something tells me Bowen will play. I was told he was just a little banged up. Nothing. Take that for what it is. I've been told that before, and the player didn't play. So
Nick Anderson's been banged up for 2 months.
He's been banged up.
I'm not trusting anything. I'm not trusting
anything. They held him out of fall
there.
camp, the last 2.5 weeks of fall camp, so that he would be ready for game 1, and it's game 2, and he hasn't touched the field, nor has he suited up. So, yeah, there's that. All right. So, do you all believe that Oklahoma rebounds offensively this week, and why?
I do believe they rebound offensively for the sole reason that it's very, very difficult for them to play nearly as poorly as they did last week. Like,
the only way is up.
I don't think the rebound necessarily means they drop a 50 burger on Tulane, but I think we'll see a lot more offense from this program than we did.
What happens if they do drop a 50 burger? Like what happens to the OU fan base if that happens? Their heads are going to be spinning because they're not going to know. First off, the hype machine for that Tennessee game just
But don't let yourself get like if that is what happens, if Oklahoma comes out, lands a statement victory, wins this game by 3-4 possessions, don't let yourself get fooled because that there's a lot of similarities to 2022. Right, you go up to Lincoln, throttle Nebraska. I remember people were talking after the game, is Oklahoma the second best team in the country?
Yeah, Colin Cowherd.
Cowherd said that they were the second best team in the country, not just people. Colin Cowherd,
Joe Klatt, all of them. They're like, they're freaking one of the most balanced teams in the nation.
And then what happens the next
K-State.
week? Kansas State comes in and Adrian Martinez darn near bolts for the end zone on 3rd and 18. And you lose that football game on your home turf. So don't let yourself get fooled. Don't let yourself become a prisoner of the moment if Oklahoma rebounds with a strong performance and handles Tulane this weekend. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I am confident that Oklahoma does win this game more comfortably than most expect right now.
I think like everything, I think we are, if they do say they win, say they cover, say they win by 17 or 21 or something like that. Like, I think the fan base is almost going to become more combative with each other because I think the people that said, hey, we're going to be fine, I think they'll be louder about it.
Oh, yeah.
I think the people that have been the doomers, if you will, they'll be like, oh, the standards around here now just beat Tulane by 2 scores, beat Tulane by 3 scores. Those are the standards around here. Or it's, where was this the last 2 weeks? It's the inconsistency. It's the blah, blah, oh, we're holding things back or whatever. Like, it'll, both sides will just get louder if there's, some semblance of a 3-score game. Because I think if we lose or if we barely win, it's going to be all right crowd can't be very loud, obviously. But it's its bad crowd will never get quieter until you win a national championship. So I do think the offense rebounds. I think they score in the 30s. And I because I kind of think Nick plays. I think the offensive line has slowly improved each week. I think Jackson sees his mistakes. I think Deion Burks has talked about his mistakes. I think Javonte Barnes has cleaned up some of his mistakes. I think Taylor Tatum, looking on film, like I think I just lean into the, hey, look, this is where you're screwing up. Fix it. And I just trust them to fix it.
Yeah. Am I going to be the doom and gloomer here? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. No, I think they rebound. I just I don't know to what extent. I think is where I'm at. I think it all depends on who's available, who's unavailable, um, and who they play. I and how they play it. I think if they establish the run game, I think the offense is completely different. I expect Oklahoma to win by I'll say between 24 and 17 points is like where I'm at. Like 17, 24 points is kind of where I'm at. I think Tulane's a good team. I think it's going to be they're going to keep it closer than what people imagine. Is how I feel this game's going to go. And I think midway through the third quarter, something just goes Oklahoma's way. The crowd gets just ramped up into it, and momentum just kind of snowballs on top of Tulane in Oklahoma's favor, is how I kind of see this thing going. I think you'll see a defensive touchdown. I expect that to happen for some odd reason. I don't know why I have that gut feeling. I just have a gut feeling that a defensive touchdown is going to take place for Oklahoma. Um, but yeah, I think Jackson. I think he throws for about 220 and about 3 touchdowns. Now I don't know how many interceptions he throws, whether it's 0, 1, 2, 3. I don't know, but I just feel like that's kind of where his sweet spot's going to be as far as statistically goes. Um, I think one of the running backs hits the 100-yard mark. I think they make a point to get the running backs going. I think Venables makes the offense get the running backs going and in the run game going. I think he wants to see that. He's a defensive guy. Like that's kind of their thing is run the ball, get the run game going, and then let's get the defense on their heels. Um, so I expect it to be better. I don't know personnel wise who's going to play and who's not, but nor do I want to speculate because it's been a crapshoot. So, um, yeah, I think that's generally how I see it. Now, what's y'all's game scores? How do y'all see that play out?
Ooh, I hadn't thought about this.
Before
I
we do that, let's do the big games real quick, like we did last week. And then the last game will be Oklahoma. How about that? How about that? Arizona, K-State. Who y'all got?
K-State.
Give me the
Here's
fighting Chip Vineys. Give me Arizona.
Oh, I forgot he's coaching there.
Yeah, he's cornerbacks coach there. Yeah, I think give me Noah Fafita and Chip Viney.
I'm going Arizona too. They're got the longest win streak in college football right now, right?
Yeah, like
Yep.
8 or something like that, right?
It's 9, I think. Yeah.
All right.
Um, LSU. Oh, Alabama at Wisconsin.
Oh, Bama rolls.
Bama
Wisconsin
roll.
is not very good.
Okay.
In a different year, this game would be
Yeah, it would look really good. It looks good on paper, but when you
looks great
get
on
down,
paper.
you open it up, you know the teams. Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking Bama too. LSU at South Carolina. South Carolina shocked the crap out of everybody last week and looked phenomenal against Kentucky. LSU struggled against Nicholls State. They're
Yeah,
at South Carolina.
I mean Gamecocks got to win that one, right? Is that the one? Is that like the easy upset pick that feels too easy because there's something I'm not seeing?
Well, I know a lot of the Ref Royal Rumble folks got the Gamecocks, but I don't know. I don't know. I have no rhyme or reason to pick LSU, but I'm picking LSU to cover.
I agree. It's kind of just like a gut feeling thing.
I'm going to go different. I'm going to say South Carolina here. But your guys are probably right, and I'm only picking South Carolina just because you guys picked LSU. So my gut says LSU, but I'm going South Carolina. This is the one that I think has intrigue for me. Do I think it happens? No, I don't think the upset happens, but it has intrigue because the fighting Bill O'Briens are heading to in Boston College are heading to Missouri this Saturday. I know OU fans are going, come
Come
on.
on.
Red bandanas, come on for the victory, baby. What do you got, Parker?
I I can't I can't with
Do it.
intellectual I cannot with intellectual honesty take Boston College to win this football game.
Oh,
I
you
think
suck.
Missouri will win.
I mean, I have to agree. I think Missouri is going to win the game as well.
I do too, but I wanted Parker just to piss the Missouri fans off more and
Yeah,
pick
he's never done
Boston
that before.
College. He's never done that before. Yeah, no. Missouri wins, but I wish it wasn't that the case. All right. I think the last one is Georgia at Kentucky. I think we all agree that Georgia is going to smash Kentucky.
Yeah, Carson Beck versus Brock Vandegrift. I will take Carson Beck there, folks.
Yes, as will I.
Does Notre Dame rebound?
Who do they got?
They're at Purdue.
Ooh, that one is dangerous. That is a scary road matchup.
Hmm.
Weird stuff happens at Ross Aid.
Rondell Moore ain't
I'm
walking through that door, so I'm probably still taking the Irish.
I'm taking Purdue.
I'll take Notre Dame. That hurts me to say because I've always been a Notre Dame hater, but I'll take Notre Dame. All right. Now the game of the week, Oklahoma versus or hosting Tulane. What's the line right now? Does anybody remember what the line is?
13 and a half last
It
I
was
checked.
13 and a half.
13 and a
Yes.
half. Okay, it was 14 when I looked the other day. So, all right. 13 and a half, Oklahoma favored by. Obviously, Dorian Mintz has been just balling out for them. Their run game has been hopping. Um, Defensively, though, they've got issues. Tulane does, particularly on the back end, which you would think that Jackson Arnold would exploit. We will see. What do y'all got?
I have Oklahoma by a final of 35-17. I think
Was that
I
your
think they
pick?
get
Well, close enough. Go
really.
ahead.
No, I bet you Oklahoma gets a fourth quarter touchdown to secure the cover. And I think the offense does enough to kind of inspire confidence that they've got some mojo back and got some rhythm back. And I trust that defense turns in another strong outing.
34-17 is what I put in my article yesterday. So preceded the pick. Anyways, yeah, I think much like Brandon had said earlier, I think there's a DST touchdown. I know you said D. I think I'm throwing special teams in there. I think Kip Lewis has gone back-to-back games of one, knocking a ball loose on a punt return, and last week smoked another punt returner. So as long as Lewis Carter is out there hunting punt returners, I feel like he is like the special teams group is not done returning muff punts for touchdowns. So
So you think Oklahoma is going to kick 2 field goals in this football game successfully?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Puts him over
So,
75%, Parker.
It does. It
or
does. So that means he's missing his first attempt the following week.
Oh,
or
God.
or he misses an extra point.
I was about to say that might be the more likely scenario.
It could go either way. It could go either way, but I like 34-17.
I have 31-13, Oklahoma. My reasoning is this. I think the offense does really, I think they step it up a little bit. I don't know to what extent, like I said. And as Travis kind of re-upped on what I said earlier, I think the defense gets some points for Oklahoma. So whether the offense scores 24, right, with a field goal, And then the defense, whether it's a fumble return, a punt return, interception, I don't know, whatever. Oklahoma scores in a unorthodox way on the other side of the ball, and that's how they get to 31. I think they shut down Tulane for the most part defensively. I think the defensive line is too much for their, even as experienced as Tulane's offensive line is, I just think Oklahoma's defensive front and how they move and how they're used, particularly to basically set up the blitzers, right? They're there to occupy the blitzers for the most part. I think that works in Oklahoma's favor. I think Allie and Venables really ramp up the aggressiveness and how they call this game, which is kind of going to be shell shocked a little bit for Mensa, who has been at home. I think this is their first road game, right? So that's going to be the intrigue part, is like, how is he going to handle this road atmosphere in Norman? So we'll see. Obviously, oh my gosh, I just went blank on Houston's coach.
Willie Fritz.
Willie Fritz built a phenomenal program, and Summerall is kind of piggybacking off that. Summerall also has a lot of connections with this Oklahoma staff, by the way. Did you know that? Because he was at Troy, and within that conference, Jacksonville State, all that type of stuff, right? Brandon Hall coached at Troy for a long time. They all
Well, he
go
was
way
on
back.
student staff for a year, correct?
Say what?
Wasn't he on
Yes.
student staff for a
Yes.
year?
There's a lot of connections there. So yeah, I think it's just a really intriguing game, particularly because Tulane's been just a thorn in Oklahoma's side, and I think Oklahoma fans would love to get that game back for the struggles of 2021 and really lay it on them. We'll see if that takes place, but I got 31-13. So, all right. I think that's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners pregame podcast. If you're not a member of OU Insider, it's $9.95 a month. $99.95 will get you a whole year if you want to do that, which all the way into whatever date you sign up into 2025, which is a good deal, which means you'll get everything up to that point: season, both national signing days, all the official visits, all the recruiting, basketball, baseball, softball intel. It's fun. There's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of OU fans already on there. Our board is hopping right now with thread after thread. There's arguments going on. It's Twitter, but it's Twitter with people that actually have insight. There's a lot of insiders on our board that have connections to the program. So you'll get to know stuff that's going on behind the scenes, not just from Parker, myself, Travis, Jesse, Brian, and Brody, but you'll get it from everybody that has insight on our board. It's a really cool deal. Plus, you get to talk to all of us on the board daily. If you have questions about what's going on, we answer those for you. Again, $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year. If you're a college student and you have a .edu, you have to email us from a .edu. We will give you OU Insider for 1 year at just $11.95 total. That's less than $2. That's less than $1 a month, actually, right? So come try us out. You email us ouinsider@rivals.com, and we will send you a promo code where you can sign up and have OU Insider for a whole year for less than $1 a month. One payment, $11.95. Boom, you've got us. But you have to email us from a .edu to ouinsider@rivals.com. We will then send you the promo code and you can then sign up. All right. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe to whatever podcasting platform you're listening to us on, and give us a like, thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever you got to do to help us out. Thank you all so much. For Parker Thune, for Travis Davison. That's it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners pregame podcast. We will see you guys on the postgame.